she is the parent of Trent Mundy. And Trent, you want to say hi?
Hi.
Hi. We've known each other for what? How many years now?
4, 5, 6 years.
6 years. And how did we meet?
He became a freshman.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay.
So he became a freshman in high school at Sonora High School in La Habra, and we met when we went to an IEP meeting, and we met one vice principal, and by the time school started, we had a new vice principal. We went through 3 nurses before we had Melinda. Melinda was like she relieved whoever was his nurse at the time for a lunch and breaks, whatever needed. And I don't know, somehow along the line, she was the one that was advocating for him the most, and she got the position of being his full-time nurse, because I was told by his first nurse that if she would have read his chart, she would have declined the job, because it's pretty scary on paper. He was having, I had to bring in a cot and blanket, and he's on Diastat, which is a rectal sedative, and he was having probably a big seizure probably once a week.
Once a week, we'd have to at least call 911
Yeah.
or something.
And but she was the only one who could get through like a minute seizure or a few seconds seizure, let him lay down and not call me to come and take him home. There was very few nurses that would ever do it. In elementary school, the school nurse asked me to stay and teach her how to do it. And that's when he was having like multiple seizures throughout the day. And I'm like, you're gonna pay me? She's like, no. I'm like, well then learn how I did. Because I was a single mom and trying to figure it out. And I was a single mom for the first 10 years of his life. And then I met my husband, he's just like, yeah, whatever, no big deal. But Trent has gone through, with Melinda, I don't know, we've gone through some.
We've gone through a lot of
She can tell you,
together.
yeah, I mean, the first time she had a nurse that was over her, and the nurse was afraid of Trent's situation. And I'm a big advocate, and she pretty much was putting Trent on the back burner, and she screamed at me during the IEP meeting, and I'm like, my regional worker, or his regional worker, and I'm like, because it was in front of everybody, no one stopped her, and she was the only one that was doing detailed information, so I could go and tell the doctor exactly what happened, what was the trigger, and everything else. And then other nurses would just kind of write a little bit, so I pretty much wrote this note, told the whole entire nursing staff off. Be confident, or go find another job because you're very incompetent. I was a scary mom. And Melinda even tells other nurses who take her spot these days, she'll just go through me. I know how to talk to her because she will tell you off. But it just, I mean, that was the hardest part. And then once the RN left the school, Melinda and I seemed to be able to find some kind of medium to where we understood each other, and I knew that she was being an advocate, and she'd fight against the administrative staff and the other teachers who were, she just made sure that he was being treated just like everybody else, because I don't think he was in the beginning. Even when I found out later, years later, she told me there was a nurse that let him run because he wears a helmet when he's very active, and she just let him run without the helmet. I get it, but it could have been a big dangerous thing if he went into a seizure, because his triggers are excitement, heat related, and if he's like has a fever or sick, he's guaranteed to go into a seizure. So when she told me that and she kind of reported her, it was like, oh, okay, there is someone else out there that's helping me do this. And you have more stories than I do.
So when I first got Trent was an incoming freshman. I read his chart. It said that he suffered from intractable seizures. I had already been very familiarized with seizures just because I've had over 7 years of experience working with students and adolescents and even geriatrics that had been suffered from seizures. But his was the most, I felt like, unique case that I had ever seen with seizures. He would go from a very happy, just loving boy to all of a sudden, he wasn't able to articulate his words. He wasn't able to tell me what he needed. He would either just drop on the floor and start having a seizure. To everybody else, that was very scary, and I can see how that was very scary, but for me, that was go time. That was, I need to do everything in my power to make sure that this kid, has a good quality of life, because most people get so scared, they don't want to have to deal with it. So it was important that he, had the best care that was needed. His doctor, we've had him on so many different types of medication that he was allergic to, toxic levels in his blood. I mean, some medications were even interacted with the current medications he was on. I was astounded that a doctor, could just be like, okay, let's do this, let's do that. I can see that we were trying to find a solution, but there was no solution ahead. And that's when I started researching CBD. And I just started seeing the studies. I started seeing, blogs about how people were with seizures and epilepsy were having a great effect with CBD. And so that's when I told her about it. We researched it more. We found a good milligram to put him on, and he started on the tincture. And then we started seeing more of regular Trent. We started seeing his memory improve. His speech was starting to improve. And these were steps that we had worked on for years, trying to get him, with his speech therapist. He had OT. I mean, he had one-on-one speech, and we weren't seeing any strides. Every time he'd have a seizure, we would see a regression. He'd have seizures for 5 minutes sometimes. He had a seizure that lasted 20 minutes one time. That was about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And we were scared because, when your brain doesn't have oxygen for that long, we worry about, the complications of that. But he came out of it, and CBD has really, I felt, changed his life in a lot of positive ways. And it makes me emotional a little bit just because being a nurse is just more, it's more than going to work every day. It's, providing the utmost care that these kids and people need. They need support. Because I know the parents go through so much. And if there's just that one person in their life that could smooth things over and make things a little bit easier, then I think that's worth it in the end.
Yeah. I mean, he's been allergic to the normal seizure meds, like phenobarbital. 2-hour seizure, went code blue. He was only a year old. Had a rash all over his body, but that was like a Steven Johnson syndrome. They didn't know what to do. And then recently, last year, we were prescribed Onfi. His hands broke out in giant blisters. Now we seem to be with the CBD, which is kind of hard to find until Melinda told me about it, but where to go. But with the CBD and the meds we have and the new meds she seemed to add, it seems to be like perfect. We had little tiny, I think I've had one seizure because he overheated himself because it was when it was like 100 degrees and he put himself under a blanket because it's like a security thing for him. And he went into like maybe a minute seizure, maybe 2. And then he'll tell her, like, my head's shaking, I can't think straight, and then we know to swipe him and put the salve on him. And he comes right out of it.
Right away.
But yeah, right away. And even now, if he has a seizure, it seems to reboot him. Because I put on the CBD and everything else, and then, because it's like his body or his brain builds up, and he'll get aggressive or mean or anxious or more impulsive than normal. And and then he'll have a little seizure, and he just reboots. Instead of regressing, it just kind of reboots his brain weirdly. And I think that has a lot to do with the CBD that we find, because I've had to change different brands and different because I, how to find it. I either have to order online and then you pay shipping, and then when she told me about
a healthy solution.
a healthy solution, and sort of just like, I'm like, oh, I can go HB, no problem. And I have a lot of parents that are asking me, how do you get it? I'm like, I was even going through my pharmacist, but she has to, I have to pay shipping with her too. So it's like, let me get it all straightened out, and I will share the information with you guys, because I'm a Special Olympic swim coach.
Okay.
And then I assist it because he loves to swim. So in order for him to swim, someone has to be in the water. So the best way of doing it is for me to be part of it. And also I assist with bowling for him for Special Olympics. But he loves it, so he has so much fun and the smile on his face. So it's like he goes and does that. What is that? A car? Yeah. Wow. Good job. Try another one. This is really good too, because he doesn't like being talked about, and he's letting us tell his story, which is amazing, because usually he interrupts everything.
But yeah, so I had told her about a healthy solution. I recently had started working there about maybe a month ago, and immediately I already knew that CBD was where I was supposed to be at. I wanted to educate more people. And then I thought about Christina and Trent, and I said, oh my gosh, we now have this like reputable company that has, number one, laboratory tested. We need to have those lab results, because we don't want to put anything into these kids that we don't know what's going in, because they have different medications. It can have interactions. That could be a whole nother ballgame for them, and we don't want to put the parents through that. So that was my number one concern. And then just having a storefront. Having both storefronts in Yorba Linda and Huntington Beach, we're like an epicenter now for so many people that need help. And they can come in and we can talk to them and educate them about our products, which is not a lot of people, find. You go to the dispensaries, they don't know what they're talking about. They're just like, I think this one will work, I think that one will work.
Right.
And then sometimes it doesn't work, or sometimes it has THC in it. And we want them to just have this, that full spectrum. They need all of that in them, because it's really quick and it's gonna help with the electrical misfires in their brain. So,
that's what I've noticed personally, is a lot of stuff out there is not what it says.
No,
it's not reputable.
I'm trying to look at the back of it and trying to figure out what ingredients are in, and figure out what the
or
right
even
dosage.
dosing.
Yeah,
like how
because he can't tell me what the right dosage.
No.
Yeah.
So I start high and stay high, because if it works, it works. Instead of trying to figure it out and start low and go up, it's easier for me just to start at the max of with the tincture, the whole entire dropper. And then if he's fine with it, the only thing he doesn't like is the taste. If they had flavor in it, I think he'd be happier.
But you know what? They came out with capsules now, so
Yes.
you can even put the tincture in the capsules.
So they sell the empty capsules. And I think it's easier to just put the whole because I know exactly what's going in there when I do it that way. So that's my next crafty job to do.